Welcome. I don't think Jeff's here yet. This is Legal News and Views. I'm Dave.
And I'm Patrick. Can you hear me, Dave?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Perfect.
me?
I don't know why, but the headphones aren't working right now, so it's a little interesting, but that's fine.
Yep,
We
you're
will
coming
work
through loud
through it.
and clear. I don't know. I think Jeff's logging on about now. There's the top of Jeff's head.
Top of Jeff's head. Perfect.
There's palm prints. It's Legal News and Views. We're trying, if you want to call in with a question, you have to use our office, 812-882-2280. And tell them you have a question for the lawyers and the non-lawyer.
Please call us.
Yeah, you be the
Please
judge,
call.
which of us is the non-lawyer.
I hate these Zoom meetings. I can finally like looking in a mirror and not looking that good. But happy to be with you all, and already done the intro. If you don't call in, we go about our merry little way, a story here and there and everywhere, usually of a legal nature, but not always. And we invite you to join us, as Dave said, 882-2280, area code 812. We have lots of things to cover because we were gone last week. One story that actually is a couple of weeks old, maybe. Right when Trump took office in 2016, a bunch of Democrats filed suit under what's known as the emoluments lawsuit.
Emoluments.
What?
Emoluments.
Emoluments.
Yeah, like hand cream.
It's in the Constitution. No office taker is to receive gifts or special privileges from their office. And the Democrats said, well, he owns the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C., and everybody's staying at the Trump Hotel, so he is getting special privileges and gifts. It was a lawsuit about nothing from the very beginning, and it took about 4 years for the Supreme Court to finally get it and say, this is a lawsuit about nothing, and dismissed all of the emoluments lawsuits. Despite the fact that over 4 years, every now and then you would hear it come up about him being sued for benefiting from his office. You just wonder sometimes why the law can't move a little bit quicker. Again,
The law moves as quick as the judge wants it to move, I guess.
It's a system. It's a process. It's designed to give both sides a chance to their point of view, no matter how dumb it is. So what do you guys know about GameStop?
Oh, yes.
Should have bought it earlier this
Absolutely.
week.
What?
I should have bought it earlier this week before they froze it.
I mean,
GameStop?
well, here's what I'll say. I did not get in on GameStop, but I knew about it a few weeks ago. It was kind of moving, and it was kind of a meme on Twitter and other social medias. But my Lord, has it taken the financial world by storm? And there's already been a class action filed against Robinhood, which I am a user of Robinhood. I dabble in the markets.
What Robinhood is?
Now, Robinhood is a platform for individual investors. So instead of going to a broker to buy stocks, you can potentially buy stocks by yourself individually without going through a broker to pay those fees, and it's free. Since Robinhood and other places like Webull have come out, Charles Schwab and each Fidelity and TD Ameritrade have set up free platforms to sell and buy stock as well, to combat that.
Nothing greater than competition.
That's right. And basically what happened with GameStop is looks like the billionaire hedge fund investors started shaking in their boots just a little bit with about $12 billion in losses the past couple of days. So they were able to buddy up with Robinhood, which eventually took a few stocks out of their supporting them off the platform just to save these hedge funds' tails. And that has caused a lot of people to turn on Robinhood. Ironically, Robinhood is now for the big man, big tech, big investor, big financial. So there's already a class action involved in it as we speak, just today.
Well, investors were using this to artificially inflate a failing stock to punish.
Yes.
Now, we need to give our just a little bit more background.
Yeah.
Is a retailer.
Correct.
Bricks and mortar stores that sell games. I think mostly computer, internet oriented.
Correct.
Like most bricks and mortar retailers are getting their
handed to them,
to Amazon and to all of the online people who sell something usually more convenient and cheaper, especially in the age of COVID. Mm-hmm. The billionaires on Wall Street that you mentioned, hedge funds, figured that this stock, which was already, I think, trading at like $8 a share, was headed to zero. So they shorted it, which means they basically invested such a way they were betting that GameStop would go to zero on its stock value. My understanding from what I've read is somebody got on Reddit type of social media and said, well, I'm going to buy GameStop. Why doesn't everybody else buy GameStop? And in a sense, organized an internet band of people to buy enough shares of GameStop to where it increased 700% in value. In other words, if you had put $1 in, it would now be worth $7?
So that's over 2,200%. Excellent.
Yeah. So it all these companies that shorted it are going, wait a minute, this isn't fair. But no, it is fair. You can do as these billionaires do, manipulate the market to a certain extent. There are laws against certain manipulations. My understanding, though, is that it is a bubble, meaning that it will burst one of these days. And there will be people who lose as a result.
Yep. I think it'll be sooner rather than later because all you can do is sell and not buy, which has a tendency to depress the price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
more legal news and views on 97.7 FM. Live streaming on Facebook, I assume. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned.
The original company. Even though competitors like to portray radio as an aging technology, the reality is radio advertising remains an effective tool for reaching consumers in today's fragmented media landscape. Extensive research by the Radio Advertising Bureau reveals a robust weekly audience of radio listeners. Over 90% of Americans aged 12 and up listen to radio each week. Where do they listen? The majority of radio listening occurs in cars, with 73% of adults 18 and up listening while driving on a typical weekday. Second most popular location is listening at home. The number of people listening to commercial radio online now includes nearly 20% of the people who listen each week. There are over 10,000 commercial radio stations in the United States. There are more country music stations in America than any other type, and with over 2,000 outlets. News Talk is second with 1,375 stations. Who's advertising? Major brands such as Verizon, Home Depot, Walt Disney, and Burger King are among the top 20 largest radio advertisers. The largest advertising categories for radio include retail, automotive, insurance, restaurant, and financial institutions. Radio advertising revenue exceeded $19 billion, with over $13 billion coming from local businesses like yours. What should you do? Go online to originalcompany.com. Check on the Ask for Information or Contact button, and we'll get back to you with ideas to help your marketing. Radio, video, audio, direct mail, digital, web, and events. That's TOC Direct Media. TOC, the original company.
What?
You have to press 1 for English.
Yeah, we got it.
Legal
We're
news.
back.
I'm Jeff.
Dave here.
Patrick.
We'd like for you to join us. 812-882-2280. And again, a new president has entered a record number of executive orders in the first 100 days of office, and was but about 14. One of the first things that he signed was an order that basically stopped the wall on the southern border for immigration, and also he ordered ICE Customs not to deport anyone anymore. And apparently, not in the order, but it came down from the White House, was release everybody you've got. That didn't go over well with the Texas Attorney General. Texas, of course, shares the largest border with Mexico, and said, wait a minute, we have immigration laws. Aren't you required to enforce immigration laws? And filed such a lawsuit down in Texas, asking the judge to enter basically a declaratory judgment that says this order of the president is not effective nationwide. And the federal judge, a Trump appointee, and you get to pick your judges sometimes in federal court, the federal judge said, yep, granted the preliminary injunction. Now it's temporary, it's preliminary until there's a full hearing, but this is exactly the tactic used against a lot of Trump orders. So I've always said this. I don't realize why people don't realize if you do it, it's going to be done against you, and you're going to scream and holler, oh, that's not fair. Well, then don't do it in the first place. But it's the tit for tat. It started, and that's the first tat.
You know, I from a I guess a younger generation standpoint, I'm not going to call myself a millennial because I don't think I am, but you guys can go ahead and call me that if you like. This is the ultimate form.
Minimal?
What?
You're a minimal?
A millennial.
Oh, millennial.
Yeah. I don't like to be called that because it's a negative connotation these days. Anyways, we're dealing with some serious cancel culture on social medias and stuff like that. I can think of no other higher form of cancel culture than all of these executive orders revoking prior administration stuff. So it's nothing new to see all of these, 34 now? 34 executive orders, including the Keystone Pipeline.
So another similar to executive orders, a lot of governors are trying to restrict, or state legislators are trying to restrict governors' COVID powers. Governors, including our own, have used executive orders to stay at home, mask mandates, all of these things. And the legislature, as you might imagine, doesn't like to be left out. And I think when the president starts doing, whichever party starts doing executive orders, the legislature is left out. And they don't like it.
No, and it's bipartisan. You're talking Democratic governors in a lot of these states, which is going to lose the Keystone Pipeline jobs, and the Democrats like Senator Manchin and the governor of West Virginia are saying, hey, you just basically outlawed our economy. What am I going to do to feed these people? And they're being told, oh, they should train to become experts in solar energy. I don't think some of these people can be trained to be experts in solar energy, but three quickies, not necessarily of a legal nature. Apparently, hand sanitizers from Mexico have caught the FDA. Be careful out there. Some of the Mexican hand sanitizers contain methanol and propanol at harmful levels. In other words, your skin absorbs it and it's toxic. It can do very bad things to you. So I'd say buy from a company, the named company. Blue Origin is owned by Jeff Bezos, the Amazon CEO, and the richest man in the world.
What's it called?
They will take people to space beginning later this year. It's a capsule. You go up about 300,000 feet, which is space, and you come right back down. You don't orbit, but those flights, I'm sure, will be very costly. One of my favorites, Target will not sell Thai coconut milk because PETA claims it's made by forced monkey labor.
I saw that.
There's a political.
Monkey's got a union.
Apparently they have monkeys climb the trees to get the coconuts.
Another Rise of the Planet of the Apes movie is coming, probably about that.
That could be useful.
Martha Stewart has combined with a cannabis company, a marijuana company, and they're now making cannabis munchies for dogs. So if your dog looks a little mellow and very hungry, that might be the reason why.
You know why they do that? Because they don't have an opposable thumb to light up their blunt or whatever their method of choice might be.
Don't bogart that dog food, my friend.
So that also that some private citizens are paying $55 million a piece for 8 days in orbit. And if I had 55 million bucks, I was going to just throw away. I might like help homeless people or feed the hungry or something.
Dave, I know you better than that.
Well, I'm not going to get launched into space on purpose.
Well, I have an estate.
I have my virtual mask on. Charges were thrown out against a hammer attack suspect after the victim, would not testify without a mask. The judge said, take your mask off and testify. And the person said, this is in Oregon. So I'm not taking my mask off. I'm afraid of COVID-19. So they dismissed the charges and let this hammer attack guy go free. So I'm not sure what safety protocols were in place, but maybe that she was just afraid he'd come back again with a hammer.
I mentioned Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, owner of Amazon.
Second richest man.
Not too long ago, one of the biggest, I think the biggest divorce ever in history. His wife walked away with something like $10 billion plus. Ex-wife, I should say. At the time, he had taken up with a woman named Lauren Sanchez. And during that relationship, there were photos of Bezos and Lauren Sanchez leaked to the press. Bezos blamed, apparently to the press, his soon-to-be brother-in-law, Lauren Sanchez's brother, which caused her brother to file a defamation lawsuit that was promptly dismissed by the California courts, saying, I don't think Bezos did anything wrong. So now, here's the crux of the story. The richest man in the world is seeking $1.7 million in attorney fees from his brother-in-law. Makes for good family relationships. And from what I've read, the brother-in-law barely has two sticks to rub together. That's why he sold the press the photographs to begin with. So the good luck on the 1.7 million. And Jeff Bezos, do you really need him to pay the fees back, or are we trying to just make it worse?
Maybe he's just trying to prove a point.
Oh, you think?
That's how lawyers get rich right there. It's a valuable lesson. Principle.
Yeah. Find the world's top 5 richest humans and get in on a countersuit.
You see
Or
the story with
Pimp your sister.
the used a picture of Jack Nicholson from The Shining in his closing argument to the jury. Threats and intimidation. It was kind of a battery thing, and the defense saying that, you know, we didn't say anything. And so she shows this picture of Jack Nicholson bursting through the door, if you're familiar with the horror movie The Shining, and says something like, "Here's Johnny," saying that the mere presence was intimidating enough to increase the charges. And the New Jersey Supreme Court said that may have been a little beyond the pale to use a famous movie to try to convict this guy who was not Jack Nicholson, had not attacked anyone with an axe. And that's one of those things you never know, to some extent, which thing you do, the Court of Appeals is going to tee off on. I'm not sure, you know, using demonstrative evidence is necessarily that prejudicial, but you know, in New Jersey, they're famous for organized crime, things like that. You think they would know better?
Okay. Got an estate story, a fairly long story. Most people remember Jerry Stiller from the Seinfeld show. He played George Costanza's father, but he was also the father of Ben Stiller, well-known actor, and a daughter, Amy. He was married to Ann Mara, and I remember the comedy team of, I think it was Mara and Stiller, way back when they were really young. But here's the point of the story. It's a nice story. He had $5 million. Good for him. He gave it away to various people. Well, here's what happened. He did it in a will, and a will becomes a public record when it's probated. And there are websites that reprint the wills word for word if you like to know what certain celebrities have done. If you would rather not be on the internet or not have people know what you've done, you can do a trust. It's not a public record. It's not necessarily totally private, but it is much more private than a will. And then you don't have to read about whether or not the housekeeper got any money, or the cleaning lady got any money, or what he left to the kids.
Speaking of money, it's time for a break with Legal News and Views 97.7 FM, live streaming on Facebook. We'll be back after the break with Least Competent Criminals. Stay tuned. And change meetings.
From the Metronet of Vincennes, 100% fiber.
I'm Patrick.
And it is time now for that regularly scheduled segment of the program known as
Least competent criminals.
You got to give Scott a chance.
Do we? Can he do that? Is he allowed? Can he do that?
All right. Well, here's the deal. And we've run stories of a somewhat similar nature where people post wrongdoing on the internet. In this particular case, it's a married couple. Eric and Lori Harmon. They're 36 years of age. And they went to Myrtle Beach, which has one of the largest Ferris wheels in the United States. The gondolas, 42 of them, are glass enclosed. And they decided to have a little intimate relationship, of course, videotape and post it to the internet. Well, that's kind of a unique location. And it didn't take authorities long to say, that is something you should not have done. And so they were arrested and charged with indecent exposure. As part of the investigation, they decided, well, let's take a closer look at this website. And they have subsequently been charged with urinating on vending machines, hotel elevators, and apparently, sex at a community pool and some other public locations, which means it's not one count of indecent exposure, it's multiple counts. They right now are released on bond, $18,000 and $14,000 respectively. I think if I read the story correctly from another place, they could have up to 5 years in prison or fines about $1,500 per
Count.
occurrence. So those would be our nominees for
Least competent criminals.
Thank you, Scott.
There we go. I didn't know that was possible. Excellent job, Scott.
Hear about the guy who was living inside O'Hare Airport for 3 months before they found him. He claimed he was afraid to travel because of COVID, so he just hung out in the secured area of O'Hare, which is a big airport, for 3 months. Aditya Singh, 36, charged with felony criminal trespass to a restricted area and misdemeanor theft. So presumably he was helping himself to snacks while the airport was in downtime. I don't think O'Hare ever actually closes. You're telling me that an unauthorized, non-employee individual was allegedly living within a secure part of O'Hare Airport from October 19th until January 16th and was not detected. That points out there could be a security problem. It seems there was a immigration case. It was a movie with Tom Hanks, wasn't it? Where
There's a movie, yeah.
he was living in the airport and couldn't come into the country for some reason, and so he just hung out in the airport for a period of time.
Something happened. The country he was from changed rulers or something. Yeah, it was a feel-good movie that I don't think has ever been shown again. I actually saw it.
That's what they say is if Tom Hanks offers you a chance to travel with him, ask.
This could be least competent mother material. It happened in Oregon. The mother had her child strapped into a child seat, drove to a local store in Beaverton, Oregon, and it was about 9:10 a.m. on a Saturday. Left the child in the car, which nothing illegal here. You can do that as long as the car is in sight, went into the store. But here was her big mistake. She left the car running. So when she got back, the car and the kid were gone. The car had been carjacked. But as she stood there wondering what to do, lo and behold, the car drove up again. The thief had driven around the block, came back, told her, get your kid out of the car, lectured her on keeping a kid in a running car, and then drove off with the car. Police found the car about 10 miles away in Portland. They're looking for a 20 to 30-year-old man with multicolored mask and dark colored braided hair. But the police said mother really did nothing wrong, but did say the thief was right. Do not leave the keys in the car.
And actually, I think they could charge him with kidnapping.
They can't. I think.
Well, I would say him bringing the kid back shows no mens rea there.
He changed
That's
his
true.
mind.
Yes, Dave?
I don't know. This story doesn't excite me. Spanish police seized more than 2 tons of cocaine hidden in charcoal. That doesn't seem like a
I
real.
think that's supposed to do something with the smell, to thwart the dogs.
Yeah, there's scale drugs. That seems like a big bag of lumpy stuff would invite scrutiny, or drug sniffing dogs or whatever, or everybody passes out when you throw the ribs on the Barbie or whatever.
Well, we talked about this story earlier. Schools in San Francisco were thinking of renaming their schools, political correctness issues, and lo and behold, they did it by a vote of 6-1. They're going to rename 44 schools, including schools named after George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Thomas Jefferson. Other schools included Francis Scott Key, he wrote the national anthem, William McKinley, James Garfield, James Monroe, and Herbert Hoover. I'm not real sure what any of those guys did. Revolutionary War hero Paul Revere and author Robert Louis Stevenson. Also included is an elementary school named after Senator Dianne Feinstein. Apparently, when Feinstein was mayor of San Francisco, she replaced the damaged Confederate flag outside of City Hall with a new one.
Oh,
And that it was her sin that should be punished. Here's the
Teacher.
Here's the kicker to the story. So what does all this cost? Estimates run from $400,000 to $1 million for a school system that is already in deep financial trouble. In other words, they don't have the money to do what they just said they're going to do. But nevertheless, political correctness.
oh my gosh! What are they going to name their schools after?
Probably Chavez. He has a street down there. Let me think. Who are the other heroes? Tubman.
I can't think of one person who's ever lived that has not sinned.
Oh, well. Can employers require
Wait a minute, Patrick.
you to get a COVID-19 vaccine, Jeff? You go to work and the employer says you have to get a vaccine. The answer is apparently yes, absent some kind of a religious or medical reason. Your employer could say, yes, if you want to continue to work here, you got to get vaccinated. I know people, I've talked to people who say, I won't get vaccinated. You're going to be tagged and tracked, and it's a government scam, and I don't know. I should know with the tinfoil hats to walk away.
Hey, how about, speaking of vaccinations, how about Knox County being the most, the best vaccinators in Indiana? That's something to be proud of, right? You know, something we
Given
could.
the fact they're having a hard time getting vaccines, that's very.
I think it's a pat on our back.
More from the state because they are very efficient. Speaking of efficiency, time for our last break.
Yep, let's go to our last break here on Legal News and Views, 97.7 FM WAOV, News Knox County. You can still give us a call, 812-882-2280, and we'll be back after these messages.
Give him Patrick's cell phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did to that way.
Winner of Super Bowl 55 is bringing back their golden ticket giveaway with up to $55 million.
it's not very complimentary. He says things like, comparing to our General Tso chicken, this one is not that good, with that highlighted. This is not one of the authentic Chinese food places. He just goes on kind of tongue in cheek, and I'm not sure if it's that good or not, but it's kind of humorous the way he markets his food. We're not that good at this recipe, he says.
The stimulus check, the second stimulus check. I think many people have gotten it, but many have not, even though they may be entitled to it. And you may say, well, what's up? How do I get it if I didn't get it? Well, here's something I don't think people realize is it's not a flat sum of money. It is a credit on your income taxes. So if you owe income taxes, the stimulus is basically reduces the amount that you owe. If you don't owe income taxes, the stimulus increases the amount of your refund. So you can, on your income tax return, claim the stimulus either as a reduction or as a increase, the refund that you're entitled to. So keep that in mind as you're preparing tax. There is, of course, if you make too much money, no stimulus. You are dead on arrival.
Well, that's not bad to make too much money, Jeff.
In case you guys were wondering, I got one. So
stimulus check?
Yeah, because
you know what we pay.
Exactly.
We can reduce your salary.
That would be nice. Thank you. I don't know if you could reduce my salary anymore, Jeff.
Ah, all right. Well, go to two Florida residents, Brian Montalvo, Tolentino, 43, Juan Borrios-Lopez, 39, have admitted digging up graves in Mount Dora, Florida, seeking skulls, and specific skulls. They practice a religion known as Palo Mayombe, an old South American Inca-type religion. They claim that the braver the person skull, the better. So they focus on service members, unfortunately, claiming it could protect them from evil. The man drank rum and then spit it on the ground, and then smoked cigars and exhaled the smoke to protect them from spirits. That's how they got caught. The cigars. DNA.
What?
Yeah.
These guys are wasting whiskey?
Rum.
That's a crime in itself.
Rum.
Eh.
The Caribbean kind of maybe a religion. Another story, I guess.
Waiting on Patrick.
Oh, I've got nothing. You guys run the show. I just comment on what you guys have, and if I've got something good to say, I'll say it. I really do like the stock market the stock market manipulation is a massive story. So I really enjoyed that start today.
Palm Springs, California, Veronica Gutierrez, age 36, saw a running SUV, nobody in it as far as she could see, climbed in and took off with the car owner's 84-year-old grandmother in the back seat. She got more than 100 miles away when she let the mother off unharmed, but she is being held on kidnapping charges.
We didn't give Grandma back?
Well, she let her go about 100 miles away.
Yeah, that's enough. Get out. The 1937 Bugatti Type 57S was found in a workshop, just sitting there, estimated to go at auction between $6.7 and $9.5 million. Very rare condition, being sold by Bottoms after being found in the workshop of its late owner.
What year?
37. It's a beautiful car, but yeah, but I just don't know if I could drive to Walmart in my 1937 $10 million Bugatti and park it.
You get cars
to watch my car. Here's a
Harley,
Watch my car.
Holly Venderly is
Actually,
20
let me
years of
drive.
age.
You could be my driver.
Holly Venderly is 20 years of age from Bloomington, Indiana. A ranger at Mount Rushmore National Park out in South Dakota noticed flashlights late at night along the side of the monument, and it was Holly. She decided to take a nighttime trip with a flashlight up to the top of Mount Rushmore, and it's against the law of climate. She knew that, so she's going to try and do it at night. This got her. This got her fined $1,250. In case you're wondering.
Is there any treasure up there on Mount Rushmore? Do we know?
Well, behind Mount Rushmore is a large cavern that the guy who created it put in. He wanted it to be a storage place for the National Archives. Never knew. No.
So we just had a little bit of snow here. This is historical about a week or so ago. New York State Police Sergeant rescued a man who was stuck in his car for hours after it was covered by nearly 4 feet of snow thrown by a snowplow. This guy is 58 years old, drove off the road and got plowed in by a truck. He made several 911 calls and was stranded for more than 10 hours with no heat. His car had literally been buried. So I guess through the calls, the Sergeant Colley was able to dig through the snow and found the vehicle just outside New York. The man had hypothermia and frostbite, and he was removed. And I guess I've seen some snow plows, and the complaints we get in this town are you plow the streets and then there's a hump in your driveway. Although the street's clear, you can't get over what they've plowed in. So they try to avoid that, keep the driveways clear. Otherwise, you would be blocked in your own driveway.
Streets are looking okay today. There's nothing wrong, I don't think.
It's warmed up enough, and the sun helps melt that stuff.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Robert Lenoy, age 52, on February 17th last year, obviously, took an unnamed victim and forced her to watch the 1977 historical miniseries Roots so she could better understand her racism. He told her that if she did not watch the entire 9-hour series about slavery, he would kill her and spread her body parts across Interstate 380 on the way to Chicago. That got him charged with first-degree harassment and false imprisonment. Don't know the outcome of that.
Louisville police were able to track down a Hamilton Beach air fryer, which was packed with 20 pounds of methamphetamine. Shipped through the mail, which is illegal. It was stuck inside the air fryer. They say it contained about $100,000. They followed the package to the suspect's homes where they got a warrant and picked it up. I'm not exactly sure how they tumbled to this, or if it was the drug inspector or the postal inspectors that figured out it was meth. So, Patrick, what's meth smell like?
Well, what meth smells like is, well, I have no idea. But here's what I will say, though, is, Dave, today you seem to have gotten yourself entranced in some of these odd ways to smuggle drugs. We've got charcoal and we've got an air fryer. Next up, we might get an Instant Pot or something like that. Who knows? Propane tank, something like that.
Balloons.
Yeah.
Let's go to Tijuana, Mexico.
Perfect.
Where Jorge came home early one day to find his wife with the next door neighbor. Alberto, a bricklayer, El Grotto.
Bricklayer.
And Alberto, the bricklayer, dived behind the couch and disappeared. That's when Jorge discovered there's a tunnel between his house and Alberto's house.
Oh, my.
So, I don't know that any charges were filed, but...
Alberto sounds very motivated to me.
So I guess with the music playing, our last little piece of advice is before buying a home, check to see if it's got a tunnel connected to the neighbor.
I think the tunnel may have been a work in progress after he met Jorge's wife.
Thanks for listening. I'm Jeff.
Dave here. More legal news next week. 97.7 FM. Patrick, you get the final word.
I'm Patrick.
All right. See you next week. Thanks for listening.
Fox News, I'm Steve Rappaport. A government watchdog recommends